So you're in the market for a new Kindle, and that's a smart move because this is the best thing to happen to books since Brandon Sanderson was born. The only problem with the Kindle is deciding which one to buy. So in this video, we are going to be looking at the newest version of the Kindle Paperwhite, which is where I think you'll get the best bang for your buck as far as e-readers go. Before we take a deep dive into the Kindle Paperwhite, let's start by looking at all of the options available as far as the Kindle goes. The entry-level version of the Kindle is simply called the Kindle, and it's available right now for about $90. And that's a simple entry-level option if you're just looking for a basic e-reader and nothing else. And then there's the next step up from that, which is the Kindle Paperwhite, which is the version that we'll be looking at today. And then the top tier Kindle, the premium Kindle, is the Kindle Oasis, which is available for $250. So as far as the Kindle Paperwhite goes, you're going to have two options. You can either buy the regular version of the Kindle for $139, and this is the version that comes with ads, or you can pay an extra $20 to order the version without ads. And then there's the more premium version of the Kindle Paperwhite, which is called the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition. And this version is going to run you about $190. This version comes standard with no ads, which if that's something that's important to you, this may be the tipping point that will make you choose this version over the original Kindle Paperwhite. In addition to being ad-free, the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition also comes with 32 gigabytes of storage instead of 8 gigabytes of storage like the entry-level Paperwhite. Now we'll get into some more specs later, but just off the top, 32 gigabytes worth of storage on a Kindle is probably more than any normal person would ever need. Unless you're reading 1,000 books a month, you probably don't need that much storage. Now, taking a deeper dive into the original Kindle Paperwhite, the not signature edition, let's start off by looking at some of the features of this Kindle. The first thing we should notice is the packaging that this Kindle arrived in. The packaging is very straightforward. There are no frills here, nothing too fancy, which is perfectly fine. This is a box that I'm going to open up and throw away in a couple of minutes. This packaging is eco-friendly and it is recyclable, which is always a good thing. Now, looking at the Kindle itself, the Kindle Paperwhite boasts a 6.8-inch screen, which is relatively big. The screen on the newest Kindle Paperwhite is significantly bigger than on the previous version. At least it appears that way as you compare the two side by side. The new screen size is definitely one of the best arguments for upgrading to the newest version of the Kindle that you could make. When compared side by side, you can really see how much bigger and how much easier to look at the screen on this Kindle is compared to the previous version. Another thing just to mention, sort of in passing, is that the screen on the Kindle is very flush. Other than the outside rim, there's really nothing standing out or poking out on the screen. The Kindle logo is obviously flush to the screen. The border is also flush to the screen. So it's just a very nice, simple screen that serves a simple yet important purpose. Another new upgrade to this version of the Kindle is the USB-C charging port, which is found on the bottom of the device. USB-C is quickly becoming the universal cable for most devices, which makes it really convenient if you travel a lot and you take your Kindle along with you. You can probably charge your Kindle with a cable that you already have in your laptop bag. You've probably got a dozen USB-C cables lying around your house somewhere. So if you lose the cable that comes included with your Kindle, there's a good chance that you have a backup lying somewhere around your house. As I kind of mentioned earlier, the borders on this Kindle are much thinner, especially when compared to the previous version of the Kindle. This gives the appearance of the screen being much bigger. And again, this screen already is bigger than the other installment of the Kindle, but these thin borders really make the screen look large, like it's taking up the entire surface area of the device. Another great feature of this version of the Kindle is the adjustable warm light. Now, this will make your screen look a little bit orange, and it looks kind of funky at first, but I promise you'll get used to it, and you'll grow to love this feature. It makes reading much easier on your eyes. I especially love to use this feature if I'm reading just before bed. It definitely helps put me to sleep, which is sometimes not a good thing, but all in all, it's a really great feature that I love to take advantage of. This Kindle boasts, allegedly, up to 10 weeks worth of use on a single charge. This is calculated based on 30 minutes of use per day in that 10-week period, so if you read a lot less, it'll last longer, and obviously, if you read a lot more, you'll probably have to charge a bit sooner than 10 weeks. So I have charged this Kindle a couple of times since having it, but it's never gotten below like 70% battery life, and I have done a lot of reading on this device so far. This device also boasts 20% faster page turn speed when compared to the previous version of the Paperwhite, and I have noticed that these pages do indeed turn very quickly. 20% doesn't really sound like a lot, and in reality, it's really not that much of a time saver, but compounded by thousands and thousands of pages, you may end up saving a couple of minutes off of your reading time. This device boasts a 300 ppi glare-free screen, which makes it incredibly easy to read outdoors or even in the car if you're out on a bright sunny day. As I've already mentioned, this device boasts 8 gigabytes of storage, which is probably more than enough to house all of the books you could ever read in a lifetime, so you almost never have to worry about deleting old books to make room for new ones. And if you're a book hoarder like me, digitally or not, it's really nice to know that the books on my Kindle will be there probably forever. And then finally, the new Kindle Paperwhite is also waterproof. Up to about 30 feet, that is. So probably leave this at home on your next deep sea diving trip. But other than that, you can feel free to take your Kindle just about anywhere. Now, I plan to do a whole other video on some really interesting tips and tricks for the Kindle. There are a lot of really cool, almost hidden features on this device that I think you'll be fascinated to see. So definitely check that video out when it becomes available. Now, we've already kind of compared this version of the Kindle Paperwhite to the previous version of the Kindle Paperwhite, and we've seen that the screen is much bigger, it's much more responsive, the screen appears to be a bit clearer, and the pages turn faster. But now let's take a minute to compare it to the more premium version of the Kindle, which is the Kindle Oasis. Like we looked at the beginning of this video, the Kindle Oasis retails for about $250, while this version of the Kindle Paperwhite retails for $139. That's over $100 more. Now, in my opinion, I really can't tell much of a difference between this version of the Kindle Paperwhite and the newest version of the Kindle Oasis. Now, Amazon is probably working on a new version of the Kindle Oasis that will put it back on top as far as Kindles go, that will kind of reassert it as the premium version of the Kindle. But as of right now, there's really, in my opinion, no reason to go for the Kindle Oasis over the Kindle Paperwhite because they are really the same device. The biggest and most obvious difference being that the Kindle Oasis has the buttons that make it a bit easier to turn the page. But in my opinion, I actually think this is kind of a con because the Kindle Oasis is just too big to fit into your hand. Unless you play in the NBA or are a professional thumb war competitor.
1, 2, 3, 4, we declare the thumb war!
Your hands probably aren't big enough to palm the Kindle Oasis, which means you've got to walk around using 2 hands to read. And if you're just hanging out at home reading on the couch, that's not a big deal. But if you are out and about, or if you just kind of maybe like to multitask, it's kind of annoying to have to dedicate both of your precious hands to holding the Kindle. Whereas the Kindle Paperwhite is very easy to hold, even when compared to the previous version, which was a bit smaller. So I can hold the Kindle in one hand and read my favorite book and do something else with this hand. Now, I'm not much of a multitasker, so, you know, I probably won't, but it's nice to know I could. Now, to give a more fair comparison, I should say that the Kindle Oasis is definitely the more premium of the options. Instead of a hard plastic backing, the Oasis has a aluminum backing, which definitely looks and probably feels much more premium. In addition, the Oasis also has the auto brightness feature, so that if you walk out of your house into the sunlight, your screen will automatically get brighter. Whereas the Paperwhite, you'll still have to manually adjust the brightness of your screen. Not a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. And if tapping the screen or swiping the screen to move forward a page is a big deal, those buttons might be a good thing to have. But for me, $110 for 2 buttons just kind of seems like a bit too much.
Seems rather a waste of money.
Now, the screen is slightly bigger on the Oasis. The Oasis boasts a 7-inch screen, while the Paperwhite has that 6.8-inch screen. But really, when compared side by side, you can't tell much of a difference. They look like the same exact size. So in my mind, the only real reason to go for the Oasis is if you just want to have a more premium product. I don't want to come off as too dramatic, but this really has changed my life. It has made it much more convenient to read, especially when I'm out doing doing things, I could take along a 600-page book to the grocery store and read while I wait in line. But in reality, it just makes a lot more sense to put this in my pocket. Not only is this device super convenient to take on the go, but one thing that I really love about it is that it imitates my phone. And at first that might sound kind of weird, but if you are like me, and like probably most people, and you just kind of habitually, instinctively grab your phone for no reason at all, you just pick it up because you feel like you should. This device has helped me to, instead of just picking up my phone and scrolling endlessly, to pick this up and read a few pages and actually feel like I accomplished something rather than just doom scrolling for an hour. This has been especially useful at nighttime because usually right before I fall asleep, I'll waste 30 minutes on my phone doing absolutely nothing. But now, instead of picking up my phone, I would much rather pick this up and knock out a couple of chapters of that latest Brandon Sanderson book. Another really great thing about having a Kindle is that you have access to the Kindle Unlimited catalog, assuming that you pay monthly for the subscription. I think Amazon will still give you 3 months free of Kindle Unlimited when you buy a device, so you can definitely check it out and see if there's anything on there that you're interested in. I would be willing to bet that there probably is. There are thousands and thousands of books on there. And so I can find a book, and while I'm still excited about that book, open it up and start reading. Now, I love paper books. I will never get rid of my actual printed books. I just love them too much. But one con about printed books is that I might be in a bookstore and I might see a book that looks really, really good, and I might be really excited to read that book, but then I will get home, put the book on my shelf, finish up the book that I'm currently reading, and then by the time I've done that, well, the book on my shelf is just another book on my shelf. But with the Kindle, I can see a book, be excited about that book, press one button, and be reading the book. So it definitely helps me to read books while I'm excited about those books, which I think is really, really cool. Now, it wouldn't be a fair review if I didn't mention some of the cons, and there definitely are at least a couple of cons. The absolute biggest con for the Kindle is that it can be sometimes awkward to hold. Now, it's much more convenient to hold than a 600-page book, but even still, the traditional device holding format, right? 3 fingers on the back, pinky under, thumb kind of stabilizing the front, really is a problem because of this little button right there. The power button, for some reason, is still on the bottom of this device. This is the biggest and most prominent complaint about the Kindle that I have seen and experienced for myself. It makes absolutely no sense to have the power button on the bottom because if you're right-handed like me, you hold the device in your right hand with your pinky under, and my pinky basically rests on the power button. So any little movement will sometimes power off the device mid-page, which is super annoying, especially considering that even though this device is very responsive, it still takes at least 4 or 5 seconds to reboot every time you shut it off. So Jeff, what are you doing? Come on, man, move the button.
No.
Another con of the Kindle is its inability to quickly and efficiently flip through pages. It's very easy to read linearly. It's very easy to read moving only forward, but if you want to go back more than 2 or 3 pages, you can count on having at least a minute or two wasted as you swipe or tap all the way back. Similarly, if you want to move forward for whatever reason, you face the same problem. Now, there is the option to kind of go up to this top menu, press a button, and move between chapters. But even still, if you're reading a book that has 20, 30, 40, or even 50 pages per chapter, you can count on wasting at least a couple of minutes flipping through pages to get where you want to go. I suppose a workaround would be to make the text super small to put more words on a page to make your swipes more efficient, but even still, I mean, that'll take time in and of itself. So there's really no great way to flip through a book. If you're reading specifically nonfiction, where you want to go back to some material in a previous chapter, or maybe you underlined something or highlighted something and you want to go back to that, this can be a real problem. And then the final and probably the most inconsequential con for the Kindle is that it's just not as cool as a book. Now, you buy this thing for the convenience, you buy it for the ease of access to a lot of cool books, but it's just not as cool as a book. If you put a lot of importance on aesthetics, then obviously the Kindle is going to fall short a little bit. But all in all, this is probably not going to be a huge deal because, after all, it's a Kindle, not a book. You probably knew that when you bought it. So is the new version of the Kindle Paperwhite worth it? Absolutely, depending on your situation. If you have the previous version of the Paperwhite, the 2018 version, it may not make sense to upgrade. $140 is kind of a lot of money to drop for a marginally bigger screen and a 20% faster turn page speed. But if those things are really important for you, then yeah, go for it. It probably makes sense to upgrade. If you've already got the Kindle Oasis, which if you're watching this video, you probably don't, I guess. But if you do, probably just stick with the Oasis because it's got all the features of this Kindle and probably a little bit more. But if you're looking to buy your first e-reader, or maybe if you're converting from the Nook, RIP, then this device probably makes sense. $140 for probably the best e-reader available is, I think, a pretty fair price. And by the way, if you are looking to upgrade, Amazon has a really cool trade-in program where you can trade in a previous version of the Kindle and you'll get 20% off, I believe it is, the purchase of a new Kindle. Plus, they'll give you a little bit of money for your trade-in. So you can potentially get the newest version of the Paperwhite for up to about half-ish off, depending on what you're trading in. So are you thinking about picking up the new Kindle Paperwhite? If so, consider purchasing through the affiliate link in the description below. It will cost you absolutely nothing. It will still be the same $139 price, but it will take a little bit of money from the sale of that Kindle and give it to a small content creator like me. And I would truly appreciate that. And while I'm begging, why not? Subscribe to this channel if you could. I would really appreciate that. Give this video a thumbs up. If you're interested in book-related content, this is definitely the place that you want to be. I post videos 2 to 3 times per week, so definitely come back and check out some more content. I would appreciate it a lot. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next video.